we're going back in time. We're going back into the circus times, 1800s, 1900s, about that era, when the sideshows became about.
Oh, it's the circus shows.
Do you remember the sideshows?
A little bit. I remember all the things of the circus, but I don't know if I remember the sideshow.
And that's way before our time.
Yeah, I think so.
But even to this day, they still do exist.
Yes, some maybe not in circuses, but in certain areas of the world, they do still have sideshows or Ripley's Believe It or Not, or museums about different things that have occurred, or different people, or different things.
Yeah,
so
in Venice Beach, actually, they had a show not very long ago, but they moved, and I don't know where they went, but yeah, it's still happening around the world. So let me start. Take a peek inside the sideshow tent at history's most famous circus, from Tom Thumb and the original Siamese twins to Lobster Boy and the Living Skeleton. Here's a look at some of history's most famous and fascinating circus sideshow performers. In the heyday of the sideshow, the circus would roll into town with lurid banners, enticing curious crowds to part with their money for a glimpse. Often ridiculed and outcast due to old-fashioned superstitions, these human marvels with unique and misunderstood conditions found their place in the circus, where they were accepted and could make a decent living from their individuality. Here are some of the most famous and fascinating people in the sideshow history.
Okay.
Yeah, so I chose this because it was quite amazing when I was doing my research and the stories that they all had.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Cynthia loves history, and she loves looking up and finding out and researching on people and their history and their stories. I'm excited to learn about it.
Okay, so here we have is Grady Styles. That was his name, Grady Styles.
You want me to pick up
Go ahead, pick up the picture. And he was called the Lobster Boy.
Oh, I can see.
Says Grady Styles Jr. was the fourth generation of Styles family members born with ectrodactyly, a family trait going back to the 1840s, which caused their fingers and toes to fuse into claws. Grady's father was part of the sideshow with a traveling carnival. So Grady began performing early as the Lobster Boy. So his dad started performing, and then he also performed. Grady later had a family, and all of his kids, it was passed on to them as well. He had quite a few kids.
Oh, that is...
Who else do we have?
Okay, let's see. The next one.
Then we have is General Tom Thumb. That's what they called him.
General Tom Thumb. Okay.
It says Charles Sherwood, that was his name. Charles Sherwood Stratton was born in 1838. He stopped growing when he was 6 months old.
Oh, wow.
He then began to grow again, though slowly, in 1847. By his 18th birthday, Stratton had reached a height of 2 feet 8.5 inches. He began touring with Barnum and Bailey as General Tom Thumb at the age of 5, amazing fame and fortune that later allowed him a lavish lifestyle.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
So he passed away in 1883 of a stroke at age 45.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he lived to be 45 years old.
Oh, wow.
So he made some good money.
Like, I don't know, like he has the face of a gentleman, yeah, older gentleman. But yeah, he was 2 feet
very
tall.
small.
Tiny man. Okay. What's our next one?
Who do we have?
Myrtle Corbin.
Her name is Myrtle Corbin.
Okay.
She is called the four-legged woman. Myrtle Corbin, known as the four-legged girl from Texas, was a Dipigus, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's Dipigus. She was born with a severe congenital deformity of conjoined twining that caused, is it twinning, kind of like twins?
That caused,
That caused her to have 2 separate pelvises. and a smaller set of inner legs that she was able to move. When she was just a month old, her father began showing her to curious neighbors for a dime. So that's what her dad used to do. So eventually she attracted the attention of Barnum and Bailey, and she worked with them. So she started working at the age of 13 years old.
And in the sideshow?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So then later she got married. I think by the time that she was 18, she had enough money to retire.
From working
at 18 years old, she retired. Amazing.
From working in the sideshow.
Yeah, so she went on to get married, and then she had 5 children.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. So it says she has 2 pelvises.
Yeah.
So did she have?
So she had 2 female organs, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And she had 5 children.
5 children.
That's amazing. Okay.
Who else
This
do
is
we
very
have?
interesting. I've never heard of any of these people before. Wow.
else
The
do we
next
have?
person.
Oh.
Wayne.
Wang, he was called the human unicorn. Wang the human unicorn never actually performed. He was found in Manchuria, China by an ambitious banker who snapped a photo in 1930 of the 13-inch horn growing from the back of his head.
Oh, wow.
Says the photo was sent to Robert Ripley, which is Ripley's Believe It or Not,
Yeah.
who offered money to exhibit Wang in the auditorium. Wang, however, has never been heard from again.
Oh, so they took the picture and Wayne
Yeah.
was like, just leave me alone.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
But Ripley's Believe It or Not was interested in him.
Mm.
I just added him in
Yeah,
there
no,
because of Ripley, because everybody knows Ripley's
Yeah.
Believe It or Not.
All right, the next person we have is Lionel.
Oh, Lionel. Lionel is called the Lion-Faced Man. It says his name is Christian Ramos. He was born in Poland in 1891. He was covered in thick long hair, most likely due to a rare condition called hypertrichosis. His mother believed his appearance had caused her to the fact that she witnessed, oh my god, I don't know, that's kind of, he was eaten by a lion. Yeah. But his mother believed his appearance had caused her to have him because she witnessed her father being mauled by a lion. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
So it says she thought, so she gave him up at age 4 to a man, and he began to exhibit him around Europe. So he took him into the circus.
How
Yeah.
sad. What came of
See his
Lionel?
face? Oh.
Does it say whatever happened to him?
No, it doesn't. Oh, he passed away. He passed away in Germany in 1932. Oh, he was in Barnum and Bailey.
Oh, okay.
He was in Barnum and Bailey Circus, and then he moved to New York. He retired in the late 1920s, and then moved back to Germany where he passed away.
Of a heart attack.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
his mom had this myth that.
Yeah, because she saw her father get eaten by a lion,
So she believed that this happened to her, or this happened to her child because. Wow, so she had like how you said in the beginning of this, you said how people had mysterious beliefs.
Yeah.
Or like superstitions, mysterious beliefs.
That was kind of shocking.
All right, we have Isaac.
But you notice most of them all end up with Barnum and Bailey, right?
Yeah, Barnum and Bailey or Ripley, believe it or not.
Oh. Who else do we have?
The living skeleton.
Oh, Isaac.
Yeah.
Isaac Sprague, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, Sprague. He is called the living skeleton. He was born in 1841. He had a completely normal childhood until he inexplicably began losing weight at the age of 12. He became part of the sideshow in 1865 as the living skeleton. It says the original thin man, Barnum and Bailey hired him to perform at the American Museum After the building burned down, spray turned toward the country, and he passed away in Chicago of asphyxia in 1887, weighing only 43 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
You know what's interesting is when you're looking at this, or all of these, we have come so far because you realize that some of this is genetic, some of this, like the lady believing that it was superstition that her that because her father got, just how far we've come with medical, or like maybe like today, if your child started losing weight unexplainedly at 12 years old, you could
look into
it, start figuring out what's going on, this, that, whatever, or.
And yet today, so many of the conditions still they have no explanation for.
Yeah. So. Right. Wow. These are very interesting stories.
Okay. Who else do we have?
Let's see. We have.
Oh, Chen and Ang. Chang and Ang, Conjoined Twins. These were the most famous ones. Chang and Ang Bunker. That was their last name. Possibly the most famous, the famous people in sideshow who ever lived. They were conjoined twins born in 1811. A small piece of cartilage joined them at the sternum, and they had 2 complete livers that were fused together. Oh, wow. Their condition and the location of the birth is the origin of the term Siamese twins. In 1829, they began touring the world as a curiosity with a man named Robert Hunter. When their contract was up, they went into business for themselves. Nice. Eventually, they settled on a plantation in North Carolina where they married sisters. So they married sisters. Okay. And then Adelaide and Sarah Ann Gates. Between them, they had 21 children. This guy here had 20. These two guys had 21 children. Oh my God. With their 2 wives. I mean, like they each had a wife. And they each had a wife. Wow. And they were sisters, and they had 21 children. Wow. So here's the sad part of their life. It says Ang awoke one morning. So one of them woke up. It was 1874 to find Chang had died. So his brother had passed away. A doctor was quickly summoned to perform an emergency separation, but it was too late. Ang died 3 hours later. So then,
because they were conjoined together, they had their livers. They were separate, but they were conjoined.
So one passed away, and the other one passed away.
Oh wow, 21 children. Wow.
So they lived interesting lives.
Everybody has. Okay, this is Daisy and Violet.
Daisy and Violet, they were also conjoined twins, also referred as Siamese twins. Daisy and Violet Hilton was their last name. In the early 20th century in England, they were connected at the hip and the bottom. The doctors at the time of their birth said that if they were separated, one or both would die. So that was very dangerous surgery at that time. If they were born today, I'm sure they would have been surgically separated because they were not like most conjoined twins. So they probably would have been separated today. Because they weren't combining like major organs.
Yes,
it's exactly.
Just the hip in their butt. And they could have probably had like,
it says they both had their own organs and only shared blood circulation.
Oh yeah, so they probably could have been separated.
It says Daisy and Violet's mother left them shortly after they were born. The sisters spent their early life being displayed in sideshows. They became quite famous when they moved to the United States, then even appeared in a couple of movies. So they became movie stars. They are pretty, aren't they?
Very, very pretty.
1920s.
Interesting.
And lastly, who do we have?
Annie Jones.
That is Annie Jones, which they call the bearded lady. So it says, although Jones may have been the most famous bearded lady of the era, thanks to her being part of Barnum's extremely famous show, Jones married a man named Richard Elliott, a sideshow barker, which they call the man who shouted at passerby in an attempt to lure them to see the attraction. So It was that guy outside in the street yelling, "Hey, come and see the circus!" And
she married him.
She married him.
Okay.
And this was in 1880, but because she was only 15 at the time, it says whereas he was the guy was a full-grown man, he concealed her age and her parents disapproved of the marriage. Nevertheless, the marriage lasted 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Until the two divorced in 1895. Not long after, Jones married a man named William Donovan. The two decided to travel as a duo act for a while and toured Europe together before he unexpectedly passed away just 4 years later. Rather than continue her own, Jones opted to return to the only home she had ever really known and join Barnum Bailey's greatest show on earth.
She came back.
She came back.
Okay.
So although Annie Jones owed all her fame and fortune to being billed as Barnum, part of the sideshow, it was at this point in her career that she campaigned against the use of the word, which before back then, and I will say it, they used to call it the freak show, so they changed it to sideshow. However, she passed away of tuberculosis at age 37 on a visit to her mother, having known no other life than the sideshow.
Wow. So at the end, she was championing to change the name from how you said freak show to sideshow. I can see that. Wow, those are very interesting stories. A very interesting part of history. Very interesting part of the circus history, and to see where some people, like how you said in the beginning, just some misconfusions or genetic reasonings or
so basically, even though they had a condition, they lived perfectly normal lives just like everybody else. They got married, they had children, and they made money.
They performed. So
yeah, by performing.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
everybody.
that is interesting circus history.
I hope you enjoy